Hello guys, I hope you're doing well today. In this video, we are going to learn about form validation in Flutter. Form validation is one of the features when we have some kind of forms like login or sign up or kind of forms that user has to input a data for us, and we want to make sure user input a correct data for corresponding fields. For example, imagine you have an email address field and user enters a password inside. So what would happen in your backend or in your applications, in your logic or anything else? So we should make sure everything is okay. So today we are going to learn how to make it. In the first video, I wanted to say a big thanks to my big friend in Flutter community, Flexi, who provide us this free repository in GitHub, which you could go and please start and follow him on GitHub. And also he have a very brilliant video about how you could create this very beautiful UI using Flutter, and also a speed code, and everything is enjoyable there. Please support him with a cup of coffee, following, and something, etc. And also me. So let's get started and mess up our hands with it. At the first of all, we should find a place where we have to put our text field. You have designed a form and now it's time for validation. The first, you have to find where is your validation area. For example, here are 3 text fields and I want each field get validated. So I would wrap that column which consists this text field with a widget called form. This widget has a responsibility for creating a form and help us we could make the validation with it. The second step is to create a global key from a form state. Very simply, we come up here and say final form key, and then we use a global key class and instantiating an instance and saying this is a type of a form validation, and this form validation would help us later. And then for our each field, we have to find. Let's us first find our form widget here. Okay, it's here, and then we have to make our validation happens. For example, we have a username, and we have to make sure the data inputted for username is not null. It's not bigger than something, not less than something, and we have to make sure about the data. We have a text form field, and each text form field has a property called validator. With the validator, you could validate the inputted data by user, and if you return something, for example in a string, that string will going to show on the text field as an error under it for a user, and else if you don't have an error, you have to return null. Here we have checked if it is a null or it is empty, return us this value, else if this or this, and else there is no kind of error which fulfill this if statement, return null. If this return null not put it, the validator is not working in the text field, and you would encounter error behind error, and you could never see the spring for it. So for the other field, it's the same. Here is a Gmail field, and we have checked it is not empty, and it ends with a gmail.com. And for the password field, very simply, we have make sure it is not null, bigger than 7 and less than 30 characters here, and else there is nothing that validate, nothing that encounter, and it's not against of our validation, return null. This return null indicates everything is validated and it's okay. So let's move on for the next part. In this part, we have to say that our form, please validate our data. For validating our data, simply we just called a key which we have instantiated, and then using current state would give us a boolean which called validate. This validate it is a kind of function which we called and brings us ability to check if everything is okay or not. If everything was validated and okay, we would print the validation take place and everything is okay, and else we say did not take place and everything is not okay. And now because the validation is proven here in my text field, if I press it, it would say the validation take place, everything is okay. And if I remove that, and you would see the validation automatically happens, but be aware it would not happen for you automatically. I have added a property to the form to automatically provide it for us. Now we would explore it later. And if it is not validated and press the button, we would say validate not take place and everything is not okay. For example, you want to show a snack bar to a user, please be consistent on your data you're importing. So how we could make our validation automatically happens? Making our validation automatically happens is a very simple property in a form which is called auto validation mode. This auto validation brings you an instance of auto validation mode. You could use it, and there is, for example, on user interaction always and disable, and I always prefer on user interaction. And as you perform for that field, the validation would check and give you true or false by it. And this is a very useful where you wanna, for example, disable the button until everything gets okay instead of validating by unpressing. Okay guys, until now that was it, and I want to just teach you how you could use this form widget for your Flutter application and make your validation better. Thank you for watching. I hope that added something into your knowledge base, and if it was, please consider like and subscribing my videos, and goodbye for next one.